Welcome to The Explainer. We are jumping right into a wild, controversial, and completely gripping journey today. We're tracking the evolution of shock cinema, starting all the way back in the taboo theaters of the 1960s, right up to the digital screens glowing in our pockets today. We'll be breaking down how filmmakers historically manufactured shock and how that stacks up against the modern digital reality we experience every single day. Listen to this quote from Issa Madze, the co-writer of the 2026 movie reboot of Faces of Death. She says, "You see worse stuff on your phone every day than the original Faces of Death." It hits the nail on the head, right? It perfectly bridges that infamous 1978 cult VHS tape, a film so notorious it was literally banned, directly to our everyday lives. Back in the day, you had to hunt for shock. Today, it hunts for you. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the birth of Mondo cinema, the infamous Faces of Death, real shock versus movie magic, reimagining the video nasty, and finally, doomscrolling the modern abyss. Let's get right to it. Section 1. Birth of Mondo cinema. From travelogues to taboos. All right, so to understand where we're at now, we got to rewind to the cinematic landscape of the 1960s. Think about it. No internet. If you wanted to see the bizarre side of the world, you went to the theater. Enter the Mondo film, or the shockumentary. Now, Mondo literally just means world in Italian. But these films, they were selling a highly curated, deeply shocking version of reality. They focused on taboo subjects and, crucially, frequently used highly staged sequences that they just passed off as genuine documentary footage. The whole thing basically exploded with the massive 1962 Italian hit, Mondo, or A Dog's World. At first, these began as just weird cultural travelogues, usually with a heavy dose of ethnocentrism. But you know how it goes at the box office, right? To attract audiences, filmmakers started trying to outshock one another. The ideas spread like wildfire, escalating from travelogues to staged reality, cruelty to animals, accidents, and eventually, the ultimate taboo, death. Moving into Section 2, the Faces of Death, a cult phenomenon. So jumping forward a bit to the late 70s and 80s, the genre took a hard pivot away from cultural travelogues. 1962 gave us Mondo, but by 1978, Faces of Death shifts the focus entirely, 100%, to death and dying. And it didn't stop there. By 93, copycats like Traces of Death pushed the boundaries even further, using totally real, unsimulated gore. The audience's appetite was morphing fast, and filmmakers were leaning heavily into pure exploitation just to feed that beast. The absolute crown jewel, if you can call it that, of this era was the 1978 film Faces of Death, directed by John Alan Schwartz. The whole thing was framed around a fictional pathologist named Dr. Francis B. Gross. Because it used this super serious mockumentary style, claiming to study the transitional periods of life and death, authorities completely freaked out. It faced massive worldwide censorship. In the UK, it was officially branded a video nasty. But here's the kicker. Being banned basically turned it into a massively coveted, must-see cult phenomenon on VHS. Section 3. Real shock versus movie magic. The illusion of death. This is where it gets really fascinating, because the lines between real terror and Hollywood magic get totally blurred. Viewers genuinely believed they were watching authentic snuff footage. That infamous, terrifying scene of a monkey's brains being eaten? Actually, scratch that. It wasn't real at all. It was literally cauliflower mixed with stage blood. No way, right? And the guy frothing at the mouth in the electric chair? Just a mouthful of toothpaste. It's kind of hilarious in retrospect. Special effects artists Douglas White and Alan Napone pulled off some absolute low-budget miracles there, because these completely fake orchestrated scenes are exactly what terrified people the most. But here's why the film actually holds lasting power beyond just cheap exploitation. They didn't only use fake scenes. The filmmakers strategically spliced that Hollywood magic right alongside real-life tragic newsreel footage, stuff like the gruesome aftermath of the PSA Flight 182 plane crash. By deliberately erasing the line between a special effect and real human tragedy, they created this deeply uncomfortable, uneasy middle ground. And honestly, that lack of distinction is exactly what made it so wildly successful. All right, Section 4, Reimagining the Video Nasty, the 2026 reboot. Let's fast forward to right now. How do directors Daniel Goldhaber and Issa Madze adapt such a notoriously taboo IP for 2026? Well, they made a brilliant pivot. They completely ditched the faux documentary angle and crafted a modern serial killer thriller instead. We follow Margot, a content moderator for a TikTok-style app who tracks down a killer named Arthur. Now, Arthur is recreating the original Faces of Death murders, but cleverly, he uses mannequins. It's so smart because it totally avoids needing a fake doctor to narrate, and those mannequins perfectly symbolize the weird, dehumanizing alienation of the modern internet. But we definitely need to talk about shifting viewer expectations here, because the box office numbers, they tell an incredible story. 35 million versus 1.5 million. The 1978 original pulled in an estimated 35 million bucks. It was a massive, collective theatrical event. But the critically praised 2026 reboot, it opened to just 1.5 million. So what gives? It's really about how the perception of shock cinema has shifted. What used to be a massive taboo event you'd go to the theater for is now a niche property destined to find its real home on digital streaming platforms, which completely mirrors how we consume content today. Section 5. Doomscrolling the Modern Abyss, Screens and Algorithms. We really need to look at how consuming violent media has drastically shifted from a physical pursuit to an inescapable digital reality. Think about it. In 1978, if you wanted to see fake death, you had to actively hunt down a banned bootleg VHS tape. It took serious effort. Today, in the 2020s, exposure to the real tragedy is just passive. It's inescapable. We are literally force-fed real violence right in the palms of our hands, whether we go looking for it or not. The 2026 film actually presents a really sharp, neutral critique of our modern digital infrastructure. Think about the attention economy. It literally profits off our doom scrolling. We live in a reality where footage of real-life violence is sandwiched right between a viral pasta recipe and a thirst trap on our feeds. It just creates this perpetual state of neurological stress and desensitization. The new Faces of Death uses the horror genre to question how major tech algorithms prey on human empathy, optimizing their platforms to addict us through pure rage bait. Which leaves us with a pretty heavy, provocative question to chew on. Are we still just watching Faces of Death, or have the algorithms finally trapped us inside of it? It's wild to think that the shock cinema of the 70s didn't just disappear. It evolved into the feeds we mindlessly scroll through every single day. I really hope this deep dive gave you a fresh perspective on the media you're consuming. Thanks so much for hanging out and learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.